Hello everybody, bit of a late video than normal and no live stream because obviously I've been doing this, I've been trying to get into the Hulkbuster beta. I'm going to give you my thoughts and as well show you some amazing footage of this fantastic champion in operation. Something to bear in mind is that this is the beta, so it's a case that anything that you see in this video, if anything you see in any other YouTubers videos, it is subject to change. So this might be all amazing and then Kabam go, we're going to change it, so do bear in mind that could happen. In my opinion, the thing that makes this champion the best is having Yellow Jacket in synergy. I did play about with a couple of configurations of synergies with this, and I actually opted for something that was sort of beneficial with Nick Fury, obviously because this champion is a hero-based champion, a hashtag hero, by obviously taking down Nick Fury, killing him off. It does mean you get double the amount, you get 20% when it comes to that. But I think it is Yellow Jacket that does make this. So launching a special attack converts one armor up buff into a fury buff, lasting 10 seconds and granting 30% attack. Incredible when you see the level of damage output you can get with this champion. And there's a few methods to play about with this. And this champion would be a case of like going, okay, we'll just throw your SP2 and then building up past the SP2, maybe you see close to an SP3, throw an SP2, then an SP1. Not ideal if you want S-word friendly masteries. So obviously if you're not familiar with S-word masteries, it's a case of like your damage output is great, but we will recoil. So throwing SP2s, SP1s and SP2s all the time is obviously going to limit down your damage, your health. But there is something that is quite amazing in that if you have a 200 signature version of the 5-star, you get 14,814.94 health back. That is insane amounts of regeneration. And this is a champion that I've already kind of spoken to Dan, obviously my co-host, Frontline MCOC, Contest Round podcast host with myself, in that this champion, with that Fury, especially if you kind of think you might want to put it into a kind of a grouping for incursions, could be an amazing champion. We were talking about this and maybe some fundamentals and ideas, and I'm really looking forward to the future, providing Kabam keep it in the same state that it is. And also, whilst you're in that self-repair mode, the amazing thing is your attack rating goes through the roof. Now, obviously, if you've got S-word masteries, then it's going to be great for an offensive point of view, especially if you're getting down that low. Not always advisable, but if you are down that low on health for whatever reason, you're going to be damage outputting a huge amount, depending on how you want to play this champion. One thing that I like doing is throwing shock. And once you throw shock, it is going to mean, again, that your damage ramps up. And that was what I was playing with. So you can gain shocks by doing heavy attacks, which as you can see here. And I like to do a combination of doing like parry, heavy attack, and then throwing off an SP3. Why? Well, on an SP3, not to mention the fact the attack drains 50% of the opponent's current power, it inflicts up to 3 shock debuffs, with each having 80% chance to activate, dealing 1,352.45 energy damage over 20 seconds. And unblockable buffs triggered during this attack gain plus 4.5% second duration. So as soon as you come out of the SP3, you can literally bulldoze the enemy right up against the wall, and especially if you're then spamming in an SP1 after, that's going to mean a huge amount of damage. Then go into an SP, after an SP1, throw in a heavy attack, and then again you're putting more shock damage on. And as well, as I said, shock damage is very, very important. Why is it so important? Well, the champion gets 688.52 attack rating for each shock effect on the opponent. That's pretty cool in any case, and especially it's up to 614.75 attack rating based on how large the opponent is. So you're going to be extensively growing with the extent of damage that you're doing. I just think this is an absolute delight of a champion. First of all, I was a bit unsure, especially because I didn't think a lot of people were kind of grasping the full magnitude of damage output on some of the streams that I was seeing. But when I spent a bit of time just to kind of like have a look at the abilities, and I welcome anybody to do that, is a case this champion is just an absolute slaughterhouse. I am worried that Kabam may look into this champion and say, well, this is a bit too much. But I don't know. I'm getting the vibe of like Colossus, and I kind of feel that's acceptable if Kabam are going to put a champion that does that extent of damage. And as well, looking at a champion here, and you have to work hard for it. It's not a case like you're kind of like sitting back and you're doing damage just by doing nothing. You are working hard to gather up this, and a lot of the times I was playing about with throwing SP1s and kind of going, right, well, the Fury attack is coming up by when you've got an armor buff on, it converts into a Fury buff. and you know, you can like rinse and repeat with that quite a bit. But I just found this very enjoyable. Using S-word masteries, it's alright. I mean, the poison side of things is okay, but it's that regen that really I think improves the champion. So you kind of like, okay, well, it looks like you're going down in health, and it's then putting it back up. I think this is very much a case, if you want huge damage dealing, go and use S-word masteries. But if it's a case you want to just use a champion in the sense of just regular and decent damage output, then of course go down the route of having like a normal mastery set that is not going to be too restrictive to you throwing SP1s and SP2s, because we don't want to have that recoil damage, people. And obviously in some of the footage I'm throwing on screen at the moment, it shows plenty of examples of recoil damage, which isn't exactly the greatest thing in the world, which then obviously pushes me more towards that I have to do more SP3s because I don't want to recoil damage, and at the same time I want to be doing heavy attacks in order to amplify and increase the amount of shock debuffs. And then, yes, maybe I'm in the wrong for doing things like throwing SP1s, but again, it's all about getting that Fury buff, it's all about getting that stun, all about refreshing some of those shock attacks, building maybe back up to an SP3, throwing a load more in, and just ramping. And yeah, when I get down to lower health, maybe it's a case that I damage output huge. So you get an idea of like the strategy behind this champion, as well how fun this champion is. And there are a few other synergies as well, like don't Misham Puny Banner. I guess that's maybe a typo, I want to say. In any case, up plus 1,000 armor rating based on how low Hulkbuster's current health is. That again may be handy. I didn't see it too handy really, because I could just damage output a lot more than what the need for it is. All about the damage side of things. And then you've got engineering experts. Each shock debuff reduces the opponent's offensive ability accuracy during special attacks by 15%. Kind of helpful, but I don't think it's necessarily most important. I think other synergies are going to be more interesting and fun for Hulkbuster. Some people will probably point out that there is a point that says fighting non-cosmic champions, and it says incoming bleed and poison debuffs suffer minus 25% potency. And obviously, just to update a few people, I've just been kind of like finding out from the feedback with Kabam, and apparently this may not work with S-word masteries, which if that is the case, that is a bit disappointing, especially considering obviously we want to limit down the damage. Obviously I like this mastery setup. It's the first time in I think 2 years since I've decided to do this setup, so there should be utility in this one, or kind of some aspects of reducing the extent of damage coming into you as an S-word mastery user, but it's not the case unfortunately at the moment. That may be subject to change though. Also, one other thing to mention, which is a pretty decent thing, and that is with the SP2. If the opponent's block is broken by this attack, all beam attacks have 100% chance to inflict power burn, draining 1 bar of power per hit, inflicting direct damage proportional to the power drained, 100% chance to power lock, severing the target's flow of power for 3 seconds. Amazing. In this current state, I absolutely love this champion, and I will hopefully be playing about with it tomorrow and maybe uploading another video. I don't really know. To be honest, I feel like I've adequately covered a lot of this champion, especially from the point of, you know, the amazing damage output and obviously where it can function and work with a few other things. There will be stuff I want to test out in the future, like Variant 3 against the Variant 3 boss, which is that Kang boss, and as well Variant 2 where XL champions do reign supreme. Also incursions, but again, there's so many things to test out in a very short space of time. But the fact is, I can't overly test that because obviously this doesn't allow for a full spread of tests. So obviously when this champion is looked into, I really hope it's not changed. But what are your thoughts on this? Put it in the comment section down below on, you know, do you think Kabam are going to change this? And as well, like, you know, do you like what you see as well? I mean, I do, I really do, especially with S-word mastery. And finally, check out the fresh Marvel Contest of Champions news posted about, well, I say 10 hours ago, so it's fairly fresh and there's a lot of information there to go off. There's a few things that people want me to cover, so we'll maybe be covering that on Wednesday's edition, and a lot more stuff, especially on Wednesday, that's going to go down with incursions going live as well. Check out some other links there, and as well, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.